All right, so this video is probably going to have like a few tangents in it because I have my notes in front of me and I'm like, I know I'm going to talk about more than just the things that are on here. So we will see where we go down this rabbit hole. So the top 5 tips that I have on how to really understand human design are, I'm not entirely sure if like, I know that some of them are what other people would tell you as well. Once we get to like number 3 and on though. So we'll see. We'll see. If you have an opinion about it, please let me know. I would love to discuss it. So the first thing, one of the most important things about understanding your human design chart is to really like focus on your strategy and authority first. Like there's so much information in your human design chart with all the gates and the channels and what they all mean and like the centers that are defined and undefined and like literally there's so much stuff that you can learn, and that's not even where your planets are and like the expressions of them through the trigrams and like the different just a lot. There's a lot, and the different aspects that go with that too. So the very, very first things, and it's literally half the battle, is to understand your strategy and authority. So your strategy, like when you know what your type is, your strategy is going to be to either, if you're a manifestor, it's to inform. If you are a generator, it's to respond. If you're a manifesting generator, it's both of those. It's to inform and to respond. If you're a projector, it's to wait for the invitation. And for reflectors, it's to wait for the lunar cycle. And then also your authority can be any of like the different centers, not any of them, there's a few, but like understanding how you make your decisions and also when it's correct for you to share your gifts with the world. And this isn't with the strategy. So many people get confused about what they have to like wait for, and it's like you don't have to wait for the little trivial things. You don't have to wait for like if it's an inanimate object, you don't need to wait for that because you're not sharing your gifts with other people. Like it's really how you're affecting and interacting with other people, and that's really what the strategy is. And it's mainly to do with how you interact with the world with literally your gifts, like with the way that I'm a projector. So I give a lot of advice. So I need to wait for the energetic invitation from the other person in order to give my advice. And it's not wrong for me to put my YouTube videos out there because I'm not specifically talking to any one person. I'm literally talking to myself right now. So I'm giving myself all the advice and all the information. And like whoever wants to watch it and whatnot, like they can either take it or leave it. And it's not me trying to give advice to a specific person. Hopefully that makes sense. But other than that, like I don't need to not do anything. Like I'm still studying and doing what I love to do, and going through all the little human design aspects and like personality stuff and like self-care stuff and like all the stuff that I'm passionate about, that I want to talk about, that I want to do, that I want to immerse myself in. I'm still doing that. Like I'm not waiting for an invitation for somebody to be like, hey, you should look into self-care stuff. There are invitations from the universe as well. Like I've gotten so many invitations recently for human design stuff that I'm like, okay, it's gotta, like literally I'm sorry that it's taken me this long to like talk about it, but like I'm here now, I promise. Anyways, so mastering your strategy and authority first is going to be one of the biggest like ways that you can cut down half of the struggle in your life. Like if you have literally been trying to do things and you felt resistance from either other people or yourself or like whatever it is, there's something that is like blocking you and you feel like you just constantly are hitting this wall. It's probably because it's something to do with your strategy or authority. So at least that's the very first place to look. So when you finally implement and you're really following your strategy, you're really following your authority, and you're doing it and you're like, this is easy, like I got this, we're good, then you can implement everything else in the human design chart. And there's like a whole list of things that you can start with. It's really up to you. But after that, I would go into like your profile and and then the defined centers. Yeah. So anyways, so strategy and authority, very first thing to hop into, implement, understand, do. So number 2, the not self theme is here for you to understand when you're out of alignment. The not self theme is also like the number one way for you to really know whether or not you're doing something in your integrity, and also anything that's like right for you or not right for you. And just because you feel, manifestors feel anger, generators feel frustration, manifesting generators feel both angry and frustrated, projectors feel bitter, and reflectors feel disappointed. So just because you feel this as well, like every single person on the planet knows what it feels like to be frustrated or angry or whatever, these specific words mean. The actual feeling of it is so much deeper when it's your not self theme. For me, when I feel bitter, because I'm a projector, when I feel bitter, it's like a whole body thing, and it's not just like an emotion. It's like a whole body feeling that it's like I feel this wave of like why? Like why does this person not understand what I'm telling them right now? Like, why doesn't this person, like take my advice, or like literally whatever it is? It's usually something to do with advice or something to do with like what I have to give and like how I can help them be more efficient or something like that. And then it's usually like, okay, I'm feeling this not self theme. So what is it that is stopping me? Like, what is it that I'm actually upset about right here? And how can I tweak what I'm doing in order to like get back into alignment? And usually it's something that takes a little bit more effort than just talking about it. So whereas, if you're angry at your spouse for something and then you like talk about it and you resolve it, usually you don't feel angry anymore because you've resolved it. But like with the not self theme, you usually feel it a little bit more and it hangs on a little bit longer because of the fact that it was like there and it was showing you like, this is something you really need to pay attention to. And there won't ever be a time. I mean, you'll have time where you're not feeling it, but literally you will feel your not self theme throughout your entire life at some point when you're not in alignment. It's just it's literally the universe's way of telling you whether or not something is correct for you. I hope that made sense. I'm gonna make a whole different video about not self theme, so like I just wanted to give it a little bit of rundown. And also like think of it like a compass. So if you're feeling you're not self theme, it's like, you're not pointing your true north anymore. It's just the fact that you've like tweaked it, and whether or not you are going completely east instead of north or completely south instead of north, or it's like just a little bit, it's all dependent on the situation and who you are and like all of that and what you're feeling the not self theme about. It's not like oh my God, I'm feeling my not self theme right now. This entire path is not right for me. That is not at all what it is. It's just there's this little part that like is frustrating me or is making me feel bitter, and like what do I need to do instead that's going to help me not feel this way anymore? Hopefully that makes sense. So number 3, there's no black and white in human design. It is not like the end all be all. It is not so dogmatic. It is not so strict that like just because it says one thing, that doesn't mean that's how it's going to show up for you. For instance, if you have a defined head center, that doesn't mean you don't understand other people's opinions. And if you have an undefined head center, that doesn't mean you don't have your own opinions. You can and you do. It's just how much you do and how like strong they are. And like there are so many different variables to each and every part of your human design chart that it's not meant to be like this blanket of terms for everybody to like live by. And again, with the not self theme, if we're talking about that, every person on the planet feels frustrated at some point in their life. But for generators and manifesting generators, to feel frustrated is a much deeper, like, body feeling of frustration, and it's so, like, it's harder to let go of because of the fact that that's their non-self theme. So just because generators and manifesting generators feel frustrated in their not self theme, that doesn't mean other people don't feel frustrated. So there's no better or worse in human design. It just is. Like, the way that you are is. One person's way of being is not wrong, like, comparatively to the other person. Like, there is no grass is greener. Like, literally the way that you're meant to be is the way that you're meant to be. And it's perfect for you, for what your soul chose to do and to learn and to come here and, like, to figure out in this lifetime. You know, you can see what your soul has either already, you know, gone through before. You can see all the different things of, like, it's just, there's so much to it. Don't base your worth off of what you do or don't have, because of the fact that inherently you have worth. You are a soul. You came here to do what you want to do. That is worthy. You know, it's not one person's better than the other because they have this certain thing defined or undefined or, like, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's just what's better for you this life, this time, you know. So I just don't want anybody to think that, like, you know, one person's better than the other. Like, it's not at all that. You are perfect the way that you are with all your imperfections. Like, that phrase that everybody, you know, talks about, that's so cliche now, it's so true. So just that. All right, number 4. Just because you read or hear or are told something about conditioning doesn't mean you have that specific conditioning. There are so many different ways that any of our spaces can be conditioned, and it's like a whole rainbow of colors on so many different levels. Think of it like a skyscraper, and each floor has a rainbow of color within it, you know, and it's literally like the skyscraper that doesn't end, because there are so many different ways in your life that you could have conditioning put on you. It just depends on your design, your personality, what your experiences have taught you, how you've reacted, how everything in your life has, like, either triggered you or not triggered you, or, like, shown you what was good or, like, what was not, or, like, literally these things that have been put on you that are not true to yourself, you know, that are not true to your design, that are not meant to be a part of you. And for instance, like, again, we'll go with the head center. With an open head center, you know, you're supposed to have a more fluid way of thinking about things. With a defined head center, you have a more strict way of thinking about things based on what you feel and you think is correct. That doesn't mean that either one is wrong. That just means that it is the way it is. So when you experience conditioning, and you can experience conditioning in any part of your chart, whether it's open or whether it's defined or whether, like, no matter what it is, it just so happens that in your open centers, you're more receptive to it. And when you're younger in your life, you're more receptive to conditioning because you're literally, like, learning how to be in the physical world. So you're more receptive to understanding things from people you trusted. So I feel like it's just this awareness, like, whatever life experiences you've had, whatever understandings that you have gone through, whatever life experiences that you've gone through that, like, you've already deconditioned yourself from, and you do this, no, like, whether or not you even know about human design, or even if you agree with it, it really doesn't matter. Like, there are probably times where you've gone through in your life and you're like, wow, I don't actually believe that. Like, my parents told me that, but that's not what I believe, so I'm going to believe this. That literally is conditioning, and you deconditioning yourself. So it doesn't even have to do with, like, the specific things about human design. It's just the fact of, like, a belief or a pattern or a habit or whatever it is that isn't right for you, that you've decided to no longer have anymore, and you're doing the thing that's right for you now. So you find this a lot with like people who are on a personal development journey. You know, if they've already worked through like some relationship stuff or some personal like, you know, self-worth stuff or self-love or self-trust or like whatever that is, it's still, you're still deconditioning yourself from the stuff that has been put on you from when you were younger or from the external world. Like, you can experience conditioning in any centers at any point in time, and you can also decondition, you know, in from anything. You know, if it's not for you, you decondition it. It just is. And again, not everybody has the same way of conditioning. It shows up so different for each person because so like people are just so inherently different. That's how it is. And then number 5, conditioning can happen at any age. And I feel like a lot of people think that it can only happen when you're younger, you know, because it is when you're like, you know, learning about different things and you're trusting the people around you to show you the right way of doing things, or, you know, the right way to do things, whether or not it's right for you or not. But even still, this is why having like a personal development journey throughout your entire life, like this is what we came here to do as souls. Like we came here to literally figure out ourselves and our life and like go through this our entire life, you know, and you're constantly changing and evolving and growing and like growing into the person that you were meant to be. And that's literally the excitement of life, is that you get to go through this and have fun with it. And just because, so like if you've ever the whole thing of you can experience conditioning at any age. If for whatever reason you find that you are repeating a pattern from the past, this is your conditioning that is coming back, or something that has reconditioned you in a new way, and it's showing itself in the same way that you understand it, so that way you can work through it again. This happens a lot in relationships. So if for whatever reason you've been in a like a manipulative relationship where some other person was telling you, you know, what to do and like was controlling or like whatever, you know, there's different ways that this can show up. This can be literally them being controlling over the fact of like what you're doing and like, you know, whatever it is. Or it could literally be like them manipulating you and controlling you that way. It shows up different ways, but the underlying lesson is still the same. There's so much within this. So it's really understanding that like conditioning can happen at any age. It's just being aware of it and understanding it, and like not judging yourself for feeling conditioning, because literally everybody feels it. You know, it just happens because that's just what we do. If we didn't have this conditioning, if we didn't have these experiences, if we didn't have these lessons to learn, if we didn't have all of this in our lives, life would be pretty boring. Like, and you know, we wouldn't be all about it. Granted, we may not be happy about the conditioning or the experiences all the time, but if you like look back at all of the things that you've experienced in your life, it happened for a reason. You learned something from it. Even if it was the fact that like you don't like this thing, you still learned that you didn't like this thing. Like, it's all an experience, and it's all really just the spice of life. It really is. So it's like, I feel like it's just not as serious. It doesn't need to be as serious as like, I need to do all of this right now. Like, no, you can flow with it if you want to. If you want to be more serious, that's fine too. It's whatever is right for you. Just try to enjoy the process as well, because you're here for a reason. You know, you're in a physical reality for a reason. Try to enjoy it. Whatever way you want to enjoy it, try to enjoy it. If you enjoy being serious about it, by all means, go ahead. You dive right in there. You be as serious as you want to be. If you don't, laugh about it. Literally find the joy in life. It's okay. So yeah. So those are my top 5 tips to understanding human design, like from a very, very basic point of view. Let me know if this is helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I will see you next time.